This is the LenTalk for the 26th of November, 2023. And this is the last Sunday before Advent. Now, Advent this year, the 4 Sundays of Advent, conclude on Christmas Eve. So the last Sunday in Advent is actually Christmas Eve, and Christmas is the next day. So here I had this inspiration. It may be a crazy one, but we're going to go with it. And that I'm going to do an Advent series. I'm going to call it the Advent Fruitcake. And each week, starting today, and for the next 4 Sundays of Advent, including Christmas Eve, I am going to do some theological and biblical meditations on a fruit or something that is in a fruitcake. Now, you associate fruitcakes with this time of year, and so we're going to look at some of the ingredients in this fruitcake, and I'm starting with the pineapple. So this week is going to be Advent fruitcake pineapple. Next week, pomegranate. The week after that, apples, oranges. The week after that, dates and figs. And then the final Christmas Eve Sunday in Advent, the 4th Sunday in Advent, we're going to do almond and mixed nuts. And some of you know how important the almond tree is to me. Actually, I think the almond tree is the tree of life, but that's a whole other story. We'll get into that. And Jesus, of course, is the fruit of the tree of life, the new tree of life, which is the cross. He's the fruit of the cross, which brings us back into that relationship with the tree of life that we originally created for. So I'm excited to announce this and to introduce this to you. And this week we're going to start with the pineapple, the ingredient in the fruitcake that brings it a lot of moisture. I mean, you have the moisture from the pineapple. You also have sweetness. You have tartness. You have texture. Of course, there's a lot of visual appeal. And the passage, the lectionary passage that inspired this, actually, is the passage from the gospel reading from the book of Matthew, 25 to 30, chapter 25, verses 31 to 46. And it tells about Jesus one day sitting at the throne and with all the nations before him. And this is when he says, come in and go there. And he separates the sheep from the goats. If you notice carefully, the key tests as to whether we get in or we don't, they are the exact same qualities. He's consistent. His first sermon in Nazareth outlined this 5-starred mission. I call it his Pentagon purpose in coming. It's a star fruit, if you will. It has 5 points to the star. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, in other words, heal the sick, set at liberty those who are oppressed, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, which is Jubilee, when everything starts over again and you begin a new heaven and a new earth. And you find the same 5-star fruit mission in the passage today. Inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these. Done what? Well, done fed and lifted up the poor, visited prisoners and taken care of them, healed the sick, set at liberty the oppressed, and proclaimed Jesus as Jubilee, proclaimed the year of the Lord's favor. So he's consistent, beginning and end. He says, this is my mission, and this is how you're going to be judged one day. inasmuch as you did it unto the least of these. And it's really interesting that both the sheep and the goats go, when did we do this? When did we do this? And so part of doing this is not, okay, I need to get into heaven. It's just part of your warp and woof of your life. It's part of your lifestyle. It's what it means to be what I call, in my new book, a Jesus human. And so here we have this hospitality of heaven to those who will have fulfilled the Jesus human mission. Now, it's easy to think of heaven as God's hospitality to humans, as our forever home. But earth itself, as Jesus made clear, is God's hospitality to humans. If you notice the creation story, we were not created until the sixth day. In other words, everything is being there created for us to be created on the sixth day. After we're created on the sixth day, then our first day is to what? Well, it's to lavish and luxuriate and to rest in God's hospitality to us. The Garden of Eden is our nursery. God has prepared it. So there's the essence of this, inasmuch as you've done it, inasmuch as you've been hospitable. So we're talking about hospitality here. And notice hospitality doesn't begin with us. It begins with God. Just like healing doesn't begin with us, but begins with God's gift of wholeness and life. And notice in this account, as in all accounts, Jesus is the host of the heavenly banquet, where we're instructed to go on the highways and byways and to compel them to come in. This is how much Jesus wants us at his table, at his forever table. Just compel them, press upon them. One translation says, force them to come in. The highways and the byways, get the ones that are most unlikely to want to come at this. Jesus wants a full house in heaven. He wants everybody there. But we have the right to choose. And we choose inasmuch as we did it. Now, I want to begin this introduction to the pineapple, which is a symbol of hospitality in the West. In the East, the symbol of hospitality is the frog. That's why we enter an Eastern home, they have these frogs at various locations in the house, right at the threshold when you enter. I have in my house frogs as well. But we also have pineapples, and pineapple is the Western symbol for hospitality. I want you to listen to this sermon from John Donne. Now, when I was in college, I had to read John. He's supposedly the greatest love poet in the English language. I don't know about that. I had to read his sermons, a lot of his sermons, and he's a great poet. But this is one of his sermons from 1624, his Christmas sermon. This is an excerpt, just a little short quote. Of all those names by which the ancients designed this day, he's talking about the Christmas day, the birthday of Jesus. Christmas Day, Athanasius calling it the substantiation of Christ, Tertullian calling it the incorporation of Christ, Damascene, the humanation of Christ. Of all those 50 names which are collected out of the fathers for this day, most concur in that name, the incarnation of Christ from this day. God proceeded so abundantly in enlarging his church as that within 200 years, Tertullian was able to say, the very hospitals of the Christians are more and more sumptuously built and more richly endowed than the very temples of the idols, or than the palaces of idolatrous princes. Every time we see this sign, we should thank God for our ancestors. Hospital. Tertullian was proud that we were building more beautiful hospitals than temples and palaces. And this hospital is an abbreviation of the word hospitality. Hospitals were expressions of God's hospitality to us in Jesus, and Jesus' hospitality to strangers and the care for the needs of neighbors and foreigners, inasmuch as you've done it into the least of these, the unexpected, the marginalized, the foreigners, the strangers. And this is where the pineapple comes in. And if you want to see some visual expressions of the importance of pineapple as a symbol of hospitality, you can find it a couple of places. One is, I loved Sanditon, season 1, episode 2. It's a whole party built around a pineapple. And you get a feel, if you just look at that episode. Or, I've never seen this, but I know about it just from reputation, the TV series Psych, the sitcom, has a recurring pineapple theme. In each episode, viewers are challenged to spot the pineapple. It's kind of an Easter egg. Where's the pineapple? Where's Waldo? Where's the pineapple? Okay. And the pineapple, a hospitable symbol, pineapple poster beds. And this is where you have a pineapple poster bed in the guest room in the colonial era. And I have a pineapple poster bed in one of my bedrooms, actually in Luke's bedroom, but it's not a really authentic one, because an authentic one, you would have, the pineapples would be removable. And so when you were staying as a guest in a home that was hosting you, when you came back to your room and saw one pineapple missing from the pineapple poster, it meant that you ought to start thinking about leaving. If you came back and saw 2 pineapples missing, there was a second one now missing, it meant you got about 3 days and you're out of here. If you came back and saw 3 missing, it meant 24 hours we're calling the gendarme, the police. So the symbol of hospitality, I love the semiotics of just looking to see if all the pineapples are still there. It means you got a few more days that you can stay in somebody's home. In Arab cultures, by the way, when you've stayed your welcome, they start filling your cup to the brim as a sign for you to leave, like all the way to the brim. Like, my cup is full of you was the sign language, the semiotics of that. My cup is full of you. But the pineapple's association with hospitality can be traced back to the very beginnings. Now, we don't get pineapples until basically Christopher Columbus. He's the one that brought back from his second trip to the New World a pineapple. And this was an exotic fruit, and people couldn't believe how it looked like a pine cone and an apple put together, and it was very unique, strange, exotic. It was difficult to transport, very expensive, very rare. So the only people that could afford them then were the very, very wealthy. And you can see that in Sanditon, the whole party is built around one pineapple, that everybody, it was kind of the fountain that was the pineapple. Because they were so rare, they were so exotic. Good thing was that they were durable fruits. They could withstand long journeys and held up in storage. So that was another reason for their success. But you get over time, then you get it in architecture, you get it in interior design. And so from the late 15th century, when Christopher Columbus discovers them on the island of Guadalupe and brought them back to Europe, you have this incredible surge in pineapples as a luxury fruit, and then a symbol of hospitality and welcome. So here in Seattle, by the way, we have Stay Pineapple. It's a company, a resort company. They have pineapple hotels. They have different names, but all across the country. And I love them because they try and customize themselves to the location. So you have one in Portland. Portland's a little weird, so they have a really weird one there, and with all sorts of exotic and bizarre features. And so the Pineapple Hotel chain, Stay Pineapple is the name of the company. It's a Pacific Northwest company. But you also see the fascination with pineapples and some of the greatest. I mean, Van Gogh, his still life with pineapple. He did a bunch of pineapple still lifes, and that inspired Gauguin to do his still life with pineapple. And there's another one, The Call to the Gods, where he has pineapples. And then Matisse loved pineapples. He couldn't get enough pineapples, and he did lots of still lifes with pineapples. Still Life on a Table in 1919 as an example. And then Georgia O'Keeffe, the incredible U.S. painter, did a lot with these pineapples. So here we have a symbol of hospitality that is showcasing for us God's hospitality to us. And this is what really this time of season is all about, is God's hospitality in the incarnation. That not only heaven is hospitality for eternity, but Jesus and Jesus himself is God's hospitality to humans to come home, to return to the original human God made us to be. And showing us the hospitality of heaven and what it means to have hospitality as humans to the world that God loves so much, that God sent Jesus, the human one, the hospitable one, to love us and to care for us and to die for us. So the pineapple ingredient in the fruitcake, the moisture of hospitality, the sweetness and tartness of hospitality, the texture of hospitality. Can you imagine a fruitcake without pineapple? Now, I can imagine carrot cakes without pineapple, and people who love carrot cakes are really divided here. Do you have pineapple or not? But you can't have a fruitcake without pineapple. Hospitality. You can't be a Jesus human. And inasmuch as you've done it unto the least of these, the shibboleth of eternity, inasmuch is meaning show hospitality. Hospitality of healing, hospitality of forgiveness, hospitality of compassion, hospitality of freedom, hospitality of jubilee to the world and to each other. The pineapple, symbol of hospitality.